The meeting will come to order. This is John Minns, Chair of the West Hartford Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and I'd like to welcome you to the virtual June 15th meeting of the Council. Because in-person attendance at public meetings is likely to increase the risk of transmission of COVID-19, this meeting is being conducted in accordance with Governor Lamont's Executive Order 7B, which permits municipalities to conduct public meetings virtually. Commission members and some town staff are participating by WebEx, and members of the public can access this meeting by calling 1-408-418-9388 and using access code 132-276-4830. The public can also watch us on Comcast Channel 96 or Frontier TV Channel 6099 or on www.whctv.org. Because of the virtual format, there are some special rules and procedures that I need to cover before I begin. First, I ask all participants to please mute your devices when you are not speaking. If you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand and I will call on you. If you are participating via audio only, or I do not call on you and the debate is ending, then please unmute your phone and let me know so I can recognize you. Second, pursuant to Executive Order 7B, all speakers must state their name and title each time they speak. Third, because of the difficulty in tallying voice votes on video conferencing, I will require that votes be taken by roll. Fourth, I would like to describe how the hand-raising process will work. Unfortunately, our conference technology does not allow us to identify individual callers by name automatically. Therefore, the moderator of this meeting asks that each person calling in identify him or herself so that she can identify the caller by name. When it is time for the public comment portion of this meeting, I will turn the meeting over to the moderator. The moderator will announce the first 3 digits of the phone number, and the person who called in with that number may unmute his or her phone, restate his or her name, provide his or her address, and deliver comments or questions. Moderator will proceed in this manner until all members of the public who have called in have had an opportunity to speak. The moderator will then turn the meeting back over to me, and I will continue with the remaining agenda items. We will repeat this process until we have unmuted every phone line. It is very important that you say your name in each time you are prompted by the moderator. If the moderator unmutes a phone line and does not hear a voice after the prompt, the phone line will be removed from the conference. I will now call the roll. We have Gina Verano from Corporate Counsel, Jennifer Evans. I'm sorry, do I have to need people to confirm? After I'm...
Yes, so this is Gina Verano, Deputy Corporation Counsel. Chairman Minns, you need to call upon each board member, and each board member, after hearing his or her name, will say present or here. Thank you.
Brian Clifford.
Present.
Kim Evans.
Present.
Kate Ikel.
Present.
Shona Kitzman.
Present.
Tanya Lowe. Tanya? I thought she was on.
Sorry, present. My unmute wasn't working. Present.
Do I roll call any of the other people on the call, such as Helen Rubino, Turco?
I'm present, and we also have a caller calling in 839. Who is that person?
I'm here. It's Mark. Sorry for the difficulty.
Okay, so Andrea, the caller calling in is Mark Blanchard, who's the Leisure Services Manager.
Last name is Blanchard, you said?
Blanchard, yes.
Okay.
And I think that's it. Thank you, John.
Should we then review minutes, and should I share that on the screen when we do that?
I think if people have reviewed the minutes that were emailed, they can make any, if anybody has any comments about them, they could make them now. This was from the January meeting.
Do I have one person for adopting the minutes?
You don't need to read them, you just need to acknowledge that everyone's read them, and if anybody has, then you have a first and a second to approve, yeah. And you can go through the roll call.
But first of all, did everyone receive the minutes? And do I have a first to adopt the minutes? Brian?
Motion to adopt the minutes.
Do I have a second? Kim? Kate? Shauna?
This is Kim. Second.
Okay, so the minutes have been adopted. We all good? Sorry, this is a strange format.
So, Chairman Mintz, this is Gina Verano, Deputy Corporation Counsel, just for the benefit of you and the others in attendance. So you'll need to ask each one of the board members to say yes or no to the motion to adopt the minutes, and you have to do it by roll call. It's a little stilted, but it's the only way that those people who are listening by phone only or who are watching video know who's who. So you have a first and a second. And so if you could just call the remaining members and ask how they vote. One by one, thank you.
Vote? Tanya, how do you vote?
I approve.
Okay. Shauna, how do you vote?
I approve.
Kate?
Approve. This is for the January meeting. I'm just not sure I got the minutes. Okay, I approve.
And Kim, you second. So that's approved.
I did.
Yep,
I did, and I approve. Yes.
Yep. Brian, you approved.
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Minutes have been approved. Should I display the agenda for everyone on the screen? Is that helpful doing that or no?
I think so.
Okay. It was emailed out to everybody. Just want to make sure everybody got it.
When was it emailed?
I don't remember.
Yeah, all I got for this meeting was an appointment. I didn't get an agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so let's put the agenda up, John.
Can everyone on the call see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So last meeting, the adoption of the January 27th minutes were done. Helen, I'm sorry, this format is really confusing me what to do. Should I just start reading through the agenda and then you chime in?
Sure, we can just go right to old business, and I can fill everybody in on a few things, and then we can, if there's any questions, I can take them, and then we'll move on to new business.
All right, fantastic.
So the outdoor classroom at Westmoor Park is underway. The slab has been poured. The monies have been raised. We went out to bid for, we split the bid into two parts. One was for the foundation, and that included the fireplace. And the second was for the structure itself, which is actually built off-site and then brought to the site and assembled. But of course, there needs to be a lot of coordination between the people that pour the slab and the people that are building the building, so that everything matches up. And they've been doing a great job communicating with each other. TNT Concrete is the local business that got the award, and Christian from Hardwick, I don't know what the full name of the company is, but they're building the post and beam structure. And it's going very well. The fundraising is complete. We had a physically distant ribbon cutting for the groundbreaking, and that was attended by Mayor Sherry Cantor, as well as the family of Bridget Curtin that has done the bulk of the fundraising for it. As you know, this structure, this project was identified as a project that would receive funding from the Bridget Curtin Memorial fundraising that went on. And so they met their goals, and it is on schedule. So if you want to stop by Westmoor Park, you can see the work in progress. We have had some pictures taken along the way, so I'd be happy to do a little vignette of kind of the before, the beginning, the during, and then hopefully we'll have the completion. So that is a good project that is going on schedule, on budget, and everyone is really happy. It was fast tracked, as you know. We typically don't mobilize that fast, but everybody pulled together to make sure that was going well. Does anyone have any questions about the Westmoor Park outdoor classroom? So the other projects that we have going on is we're in the middle of some work at Walcott Park. The town identified some funds, and also we received a grant from the state for $750,000, and we are well on our way towards the next phase. The first phase was done with town funds, and that was the post-tension concrete basketball and tennis courts, tennis and pickleball. As you know, we took 2 tennis courts and made them into 6 pickleball courts, and that has been very popular. Now we're turning our attention to the western lot, which is on the Chatfield side. We hired Mylone and McBroom to redesign the parking lot, and also how it would interact with the little hill that goes down towards the tennis courts. And so their plans have been received, and we wanted to reorganize the parking lot to allow for more parking and also just make it more user-friendly. So all that will be going out to bid at some point this spring. In addition, we have some paving work going on now that the lights have all been changed out with special, I think they're LED lights, to save, a great investment to save money over time. So all the pathways are going to be redone. The main one is the one from that western parking lot that goes across the park, across the top of the berm that goes to the northeast corner of the park, as well as there's a path that goes from the northwest corner through, and it goes all the way down to the restroom building. So those paths will all be done. We've also replaced the fencing at the community gardens. We had a problem there with, I don't think they're called hedgehogs, they're called groundhogs or something like that. Anyway, they were burrowing under the fence and going in and eating all the vegetables. And so we wanted a fence that was buried. And after some difficulty with the contractor, we got what we wanted. And so the gardeners are very happy, and that project is completed. We still have additional work in Walcott. once we do the western side, we'll turn our attention to the eastern side. We will, again, go out to bid for a designer to do to tear the restroom building down. We're going to rebuild a restroom that's ADA compliant and single-use unisex restrooms, which is what we've been doing in all the rest of our parks. A new playscape, a new splash pad, new parking lot. That whole area needs to be addressed. There's some unused space. There's some, the building is in bad shape. As you remember, Little Youth Baseball did not want to have a snack bar anymore, so that'll be eliminated. And we also have some work to do repairing the elevated pathway through the forest. So, and then we'll work on signage once we know where everything is, and we'll have like wayfinding and that kind of stuff. So lots of things going on at Walcott. At Eisenhower Park, we just today, the demolition happened of the old the standalone restroom was torn down. So the water's off, the electricity's off, and that project is under construction. And it'll be 2 ADA unisex restrooms with some storage. And that will be in the exact same place where the existing one was, but just new. At Whiting Lane, we have slated to replace the tennis courts that are there with post-tension concrete tennis courts. So a much smaller scale project, but the same company would do it. I don't have a start date there, but I expect that it would be something that we'd want to get started sooner so that it would be finished by the time the fall came. But when school's presumably in session, the tennis courts are they would be too dangerous to play on right now, so we did not open them. And then finally, we are doing some additional paving in Vanderbilt Park and a little bit of extra paving in Fernridge Park that wasn't done the first time when we did the promenade. So that is our capital budget, capital projects that we have going on right now that are, kind of either imminent or are in swing. Does anybody have any questions about our capital projects?
This is John Mins. No questions. That was great. Thank you.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone else has questions.
And the last item on old business is the temporary dog park at Beachland Park. And I was going to call on Mark Blanchard to just briefly describe the temporary dog park we had, how long it was up, various issues that we might have had, and kind of just a quick report on that.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ellen. This is Mark Blanchard, Leisure Services Manager. So we did a partnership with the Dog Park Coalition, as you all might have remembered. The Dog Park Coalition paid for the cost of the fencing to be installed and taken down. The temporary dog park, I don't remember the exact start date, but it was in mid-December, I believe. And by the time it finally got up, and then it came down it was supposed to come down March 15th. I believe it might have been delayed about a few days just because of the company couldn't get in due to conditions at the park, muddy and wet and rainy. So they were up and running for about 3 months. Actually, it was something that kind of worked well with when COVID happened. They were shutting down. There weren't many issues that we heard from the general public. Just some of the concerns were it was really muddy out there. Once the entry points of getting in and out just from wear and tear just got really muddy. So we did go out and spread hay to help with the mud. And I don't think it was relatively overcrowded ever, but it was used quite a bit more on the weekends than on weekdays. During working hours, I think, early evenings or early mornings and weekends seem to be the busy time. I haven't had a chance to circle back with the Dog Park Coalition just on their reports, but I will do that. But I think that, the cost would be prohibitive for them. I don't think they would be able to. This one's kind of tapped out their funding for what they had, so I'm not sure if they would be able to sustain doing something like this in the future. But overall, I think it was a pretty good test. No complaints that I heard of from the general public. I'm not sure if the police had any, but I'm sure we would have heard of them. So I think most people were following the rules, and I think for the most part it was something that was nice for dog owners.
Thank you. Again, this is Helen Rubino-Turco, Director of Leisure Services and Social Services. Are there any other questions about our old business items?
This is John Minns, Committee Chair. No questions on my end.
So we'll move on to new business. And we have a couple of items to share. I mean, the biggest one, obviously, is the impact that COVID-19 has had on the town in general and on leisure services and parks and recreation in particular. We made sure that our parks became an oasis for people looking for a place to go, that they were allowed to go because a lot of things had to close. We had to close town hall and all of our leisure services facilities, of course, and that meant golf, tennis, pickleball, playgrounds, basketball hoops, tracks, ball fields, and all of those amenities are things that our public really wants to do, and the town created a structure through which we handled the emergency, the onset, the emergency. We had an incident command group, and there were different subgroups that were chaired by various people. So one of the groups was procurement. Another group was operations, another group was kind of administration, and another one was public safety, of course. And so we had different categories, and then when the crisis kind of went from being, the first 3 or 4 weeks of it, so at some point in April, mid to late April, we shifted gears and created a recovery structure. And again, that has a bit more committees, but one of them is kind of the facility reopening. And Mark Blanchard is on that committee. And there's another one called Community Services, and that is for the business community as well as for the general public. And I co-chair that with Mark McGovern, who's our Community Development Director. And so when a group like Leisure Services wants to open up a sector of our inventory of our amenities, we look at the guidance from the state, we look to guidance from our health director, and we look for guidance from our town manager, and we devise a plan, and we submit it to this recovery team. And they look at what the plan is, what the safety protocols are, when you want to implement it, does it meet certain guidelines from the state? And as you probably know, or if you've been following, the rules change constantly. The goalposts are always moving, and our Corporation Counsel's office has done a wonderful job keeping everybody abreast of what the latest changes are, but also the administrator for the Connecticut Recreation and Parks Association also has been doing a marvelous job. And so much information comes out from the state, and then I wait and Mark waits until we find out what Valerie at the CRPA says, and then we kind of, go from there. So the first thing that the first facility that we that we proposed to reopen was the golf course. And the state said, the governor said, oh yes, people can play golf. And this was, around April 1st. And our leadership structure, our executive team was said just because we can doesn't mean we will. And so this was something that, we had to go through, and they're fairly risk averse. And we waited until we made 3 presentations to them, and finally they agreed to open golf with restrictions on May 10th. And so we did miss the entire month of April and the first week of May, but we did open on May 10th. It has been extremely busy, both golf courses. They are, the volume of golf is like late 1990s volume. People are really happy. There are protocols in place. For example, you can only rent 1 person per cart. All of the transactions are done before you come. So through our new point of sale called Club Profit, and that's not with an F, that's with a PH. We chose this company and went with them at the end of the season last year based on research that we had done, as well as a recommendation from Simsbury, who had changed to them last year and had a very good experience. So we're saving significant transaction fees by using this company, and they have been excellent to work with, particularly during this time when we're pivoting constantly. And but we went all digital there, so you have to make a reservation ahead of time. No transactions take place when you come, and there's other protocols and cleaning and social distancing and stuff that's going on. So that's going well. The next subject that we tackled was tennis and pickleball. Those opened at 50% capacity, and on Wednesday they will go to 100% capacity with safety protocols in place. And that is that we want, when we went to 50%, so it was every other court was available, and you couldn't do doubles, you had to do singles. But we will resume full tennis and pickleball on Wednesday. The next relaxing or restoration of activities was on the tracks at the high schools. They are very popular for walkers, but it was really hard to manage them. The schools were having difficulty. Those were closed down, but they have reopened. Playgrounds are also set to reopen with a restriction of 25 people. Ball fields will also reopen leagues, but and Mark will talk a little bit more about our conversations with all of the youth leagues. And then the final one is basketball, and the rims are continue to be down. We will not. There are no plans at this time to put them back up. Basketball is a contact sport, and we don't know how to suggest that people play basketball and be physically distant. So that one is tough, but we suspect that as the summer progresses, that there will be additional guidelines from the state that will allow basketball. But right now, it's not on the table. We're also looking to reopen our splash pads, knowing that we usually open them Memorial Day weekend, but they are considered in the category of pools. And we also really we know there's touch points there, so we really wanted to make sure that we could figure out a way of operating them at 50% capacity, so that we can manage the number of children that are running around inside it. So we have a plan for that. It has not yet been approved. So we're still, we're submitting this up our chain of command. So Mark and I will submit it to the recovery team, and they will review it and then make their recommendation to what we call our executive policy group. And that is the entity that makes these final decisions. I'm sure you're all dying to know about pools and camps.
Helen, could I ask a question before you get on to that?
Sure.
About golf, I've heard a complaint about lack of restroom facilities at Rockledge for golfers only. It's like you have to be a restaurant patron to go into the restaurant. I don't know if you could clarify that. Like
I'd
what
be
the
happy
facilities are. Sure, thanks.
Yeah. So there are 2 other places on the golf course where we have restrooms. There's a pair of restrooms near the snack bar, and then there's another restroom in another location, and they're all open.
Okay, thanks.
The locker rooms at Rockledge remain closed. They, I believe, might be able to be opened soon because gyms and locker rooms are open. Yeah, I mean, facilities that have locker rooms are opening, but we haven't received a plan from them regarding what they would change about their layout to make sure that they would be in compliance. So we will certainly work with them, with the Golf Pro, to get that plan through Bob Palmer's recovery committee and then to the executive policy group. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
This is Shauna Kitzman. I have a question. Helen, what are you finding to be your best methods of communicating as the town reopens different facilities?
So the question from Shauna Kitzman was about communications. So we work with Renee McHugh, who's the town public relations officer, public information officer. We also post on Facebook. So West Hartford Leisure Services has a Facebook page, and you should all follow it because we've been doing some wonderful virtual programming and we do make announcements there. And we also update our town website. That is a little bit of a slower process. Unfortunately, it's not like super quick because we have to put in a help desk ticket to have it changed. And sometimes I'm able to go on and make the changes myself. But going forward, we're actually in the process of getting a new website for our town. So I believe that that's coming soon as well. So maybe the protocol will be a little bit faster or better there. But yeah, so we've been using press releases from Renee McHugh's office, Facebook posts, and also our website.
Thanks. I have one more question, and I'm sorry if I missed this, but playground openings?
So, Mark, do you want to talk a little bit about the playgrounds have been approved to reopen on Wednesday. Mark, do you want to just talk a little bit about that? And then also the relationship with the youth leagues is particularly about use of fields.
Sure, absolutely. This is Mark Blanchard again. The municipal operations team sent the recommendation to the executive policy committee to with the recommendation to have playgrounds in the parks and the schools reopened on the 16th or the 17th, which is Wednesday. So 6/17, those playgrounds will have new signage. We're in the process of making new signs that just basically tell people to social distance. Kids should wash their hands. We will not be, one of the things that we will not be turning on is water fountains just because of touch points and things of that nature. So the playscapes will be back open on Wednesday, and the recommendation from the state is still gatherings of 25 or more. So when we have staff in the park, we'll try to monitor those numbers and as best we can. And then the fields, like you had mentioned, Ellen, the athletic fields and youth sports programs have been authorized by the state to restart on June 17th as well. But that is all pending their protocols that they're sending us. So each league has to send us, the town, a list of what they plan to do to make sure that their players and coaches and families remain safe. So each league has a return to play protocol that they're submitting to the town. We're going to be reviewing those plans, and then we would issue permits. What I can tell you is the bulk of the use this summer seems to be the most interest is from baseball and softball. So baseball on the 60-foot diamonds as well as the 90-foot diamonds. So that would be pretty much any fenced-in baseball field in the parks. And then the high school baseball diamonds, which are the larger diamonds. Softball is interested in having some summer programming. They predominantly use Sterling Field and Norfelt Field, which is a standalone field. Soccer is interested in using the Glover Complex for some tryouts and training. And lacrosse has 2 teams that are going to be playing this summer, and they'll be using the Conard Turf. So those are the areas that we're looking at permitting. Once their protocols are approved and by the town, there's also probably going to be a different waiver system that all players and leagues and the teams will have to adhere to through the town. We are currently working on that process as well. So we're hoping that the leagues can start Wednesday, but it all depends on if they get all their ducks in a row and we can approve their plans sooner as opposed to later. But we're working really hard to get them back up and running because they really want to start up.
Thank you, Mark. This is Helen Rubino-Turco, Director of Leisure Services and Social Services again. So if there are no other questions about kind of that section of the impact that COVID-19 has had, I'd like to move on to the summer programs. Again, for COVID-19 impact, Town Hall remains closed. We are working on plans to reopen the facility slowly, probably by appointment only. Right now, staff, for the most part, are working from home, working remotely, although we're moving towards the idea that we would bring 50% of our workforce back to work in the office, while the remainder working from home. So we're our department did lay off a number of part-timers, and as our programs start to ramp up, we are in the process of rehiring some of those, refilling those positions. But it's definitely, COVID-19 has had a huge impact on municipal government at all levels. And the hardest part has been communicating and not being able to have the decision making has been delayed because of the very structured way that we are proceeding to gain approval for next steps. The town has also now created 2 subcommittees of the town council, and the one that oversees leisure services is called the community. It's sort of like the human services subcommittee, but it includes health, leisure, social, and the library. And we make presentations to them. They are an advisory committee. They don't vote on anything, but we've met with them several times, and we'll meet again with them on Monday. They meet every other week now. So the things that are under review and the things that we've gone to them for and gotten approval for are summer camps. We'll just start with summer camps and summer programs. We have decided to move forward with camps in 2 locations. One is at Westmoor Park, and the other location is Elmwood Community Center. There will be 2 programs at Elmwood, one for younger children called Busy Bees, and the other is a for kind of the older population, not really older, but and it is called the summer care at ECC. And it is more for children who are 5 to 12, I believe. And each location is following their existing programs that we modified. So Westmoor Park is largely outdoors. This is, your typical Westmoor Park fun and nature camp where they have barnyard activities, they have discovery in the woods and in the pond. They have games on the game field. That is being limited to 40 campers. It's possible that once we open the outdoor classroom that we might be able to add another pod, but this we are operating under the restrictions that were established by the Office of Early Childhood, and it says that you can have groups of 10 and a maximum of 50. It was a groups of 10, maximum of 30, but that expanded. So again, the goalposts changed on us while we're in the midst of trying to figure out what we're doing and make our recommendations. The Elmwood camp will have 50 spots for 50 people. So like 21 in the younger group and almost 28, 29 in the older group. And they will utilize the outdoor space at Elmwood and the Trout Brook Trail as well as the indoor space. So those registrations went live last Thursday. And we really struggled with how to offer camp safely. We had, the decision was made fairly early on that we would not run our typical Camp Funtastic. The pools are closed, and that camp relies on swim lessons and pool time, and we just couldn't offer a camp that looked anything remotely like that. So if we were going to offer something else, it was going to have to be a replacement camp. And after a lot of discussions back and forth, we settled on these two camps as the ones that these two locations. There are actually 3 camps that we're going to do. And we can also talk a little bit about the half-day camps, because at the time when we were, opening registration and taking registrations, the state said that you couldn't do half-day camps. They fell into the category of you could only have 5 or less, and then it was 10 or less. Well, now it's 25 or less, and it's likely to change, next week to be 50 or less. So, or at some point. So, Mark Blanchard, could you just talk a little bit about the way we're looking at these kind of half-day clinics and the possibilities that we might offer them at some point in the future, and we would obviously publicize it, if we were able to get them off the ground.
Sure, Helen. This is Mark again. So we have a variety of instructors. Some are private companies, but a lot of them are high school coaches. So we've been reaching out to some of our trusted instructors that have been with us for many, many years. Obviously, they rely on the income of running camps in the summer to help make ends meet. So I've already heard back from quite a few of them that they'd be interested in kind of just thinking about other ways to provide services, whether it's a shorter duration camp, maybe maybe not 3 hours where you don't necessarily need as much time to be inside, or break times, maybe more clinic style stuff. So we are working with them to try and come up with a couple of ideas, maybe to be offering, maybe it's early evening, maybe it's, earlier in the morning, then they're done earlier, where we don't have to have an impact on necessarily facilities and schools and cleaning restrooms and worrying about sanitizing and things of that nature. People can bring their own equipment. So we're just working on different ideas, and I think maybe sometime around mid-July we'll be able to release some exciting opportunities for residents of West Hartford to, keep their children engaged in some of the activities that they're really interested in, whether it be soccer, lacrosse, baseball, football, and tennis, some of the other activities that we offer. So we think that we can come up with some exciting things. I mean, it's what we do year round. So I think the instructors are definitely on board, and now it's just a matter of figuring out what works best and what we can do And then I think if we get the word out on the street a couple weeks in advance, I think people would really jump at the chance to get out there and see their coaches and have some fun with their friends.
Thank you, Mark. So this is Helen Rubino Turco, again, Director of Leisure Services and Social Services. So in addition to these camp locations, we're also going to have a tent in each park, and this will be a game tent. We'll have it staffed with probably two staffers that you might recognize from the roster of a Camp Fantastic camp counselors. It is not drop your kids off and leave situation. It is family events, family activities, but it might be a situation where a parent can come with his or her children, and the kids can pick up a game or can pick up an activity, and they can go do it together as a family, or the children can be engaged for an hour or two, and then, the parent, they can all leave together. But it's sort of that old, nostalgic taste of the past, where you would go to the park and there would be someone there with some ideas, whether it's a scavenger hunt or a bingo game or an activity. And as different sports are allowed, they might be able to set up frisbee golf or set up, some area for 3-on-3 or 5-on-5 soccer or volleyball or badminton or whatever. So we are offering different sports, games, arts and crafts, special events, that kind of thing. This is going to start on June 22nd. This is going to be every day, every weekday from 9 to 2. Look for a tent in our park that's called the Game On tent. Game On is this year's theme from the National Recreation and Parks Association, so we kind of grabbed that slogan. And as I said, it's going to probably be for 7 or 8 weeks. I believe we're doing this until August 14th. It is going to be staffed by, top-notch counselors, and they're going to have some really great, fun ideas. So this is just a little value added that we're bringing to our parks to still encourage people to take that 10-minute walk to our parks, but also to have something to do there as a family. We're also collaborating with local organizations and businesses and nonprofits. So, for example, last year in Parks Bingo, and Shauna, you remember, Kim, you were helping. So we had West Hartford Yoga did yoga in the parks. The Bike West Hartford did a park-to-park bike ride. Well, we're expanding that, and West Hartford Yoga is going to come and do yoga in 2 parks on a regular basis. But they're also going to come during that time to various parks to do yoga with kids. So again, that'll be organized through the Game On tent that Leisure Services has. Mark had a lovely conversation with them, and he said, do you want to partner with us? We could, pay you. And she said, no, we want to volunteer. So that's wonderful. Bike West Hartford, instead of just doing one park-to-park bike ride, they have organized weekly rides twice a week. I think it's Wednesdays and Saturdays, and I will send everybody the details. I didn't bring it with me. I could probably pull it up in an email, but it's going to be various bike routes, various lengths. So on the weekends, it's longer rides for people, adults or older children who, can ride 10 miles. And during the week, it's shorter routes, but that really focus on bringing attention to our parks. So they went from, we'll do 1 or 2 rides for you, to we're doing 2 a week. And it's basically, starting soon, and it's our job to publicize it for them. So I will be getting that word out and make sure that everybody on this committee gets it, and then you can post it and like it and spread the word. We're also going to invite the West Hartford Public Library to come in and do some story time in the parks, which they did last summer, but do it maybe a little bit more. But we're still, they are on trimmed down part-time schedule, so we're not sure how much time we'll get from them, but we hope to have more opportunities for story time in the parks with our public librarian. We're also, I'm in collaboration with the Playhouse on Park and the West Hartford Arts League to do some programming, very specific programming for the Hillcrest area neighborhood, the Hillcrest Neighborhood Outreach Center area, that neighborhood. Typically, we have had a summer camp for them in the afternoons at Kennedy Park. We can't do it because the pool will not be open. But we wanted to try and do some interesting value-added kind of enrichment. And so we're working with them to develop some programs that would be 1 week long in the afternoon for a limited number of kids, but hopefully give them all a chance to experience, or give some of them a chance to experience kind of like an arts enrichment program. We're also going to have, like most summers, we have a, particularly in our busier parks, we have kind of a park supervisor. And that person, you know, knows how to write an incident report and can call the police if there's a, you know, the non-emergency number if there's, you know, an altercation, or can, you know, call Public Works to say the trash barrels are overflowing. But we wanted to kind of elevate that role to more of a park ambassador role. So this would be someone that would welcome the community and would tell them a little bit about what was going on, kind of not enforce, but remind people about social distancing, about physical distancing, provide guidance for various programs, remind them of, you know, go visit the game tent if you're looking for something to do, or, you know, at 4 o'clock they're going to be doing, you know, a yoga program or something, whatever it is. So we hope that role will help people feel welcome and informed about what's going on in their local park.
Helen, this is Shauna.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Is that a paid role at each park?
Yeah, so Shauna Kitzman asked if the park ambassador and the game on tents, they're both paid employees. Yes, so all of those people would be paid to do this role. And we've got some really great people. We've been doing the park ambassador since the end of March, really, because we noticed that people were going on the golf course and playing golf, or were going with their dogs not on the leash. So we did have some roving park ambassadors that were in those parks, in those facilities, explaining the rules, and we decided that worked well, and so we wanted to roll this out to all of our parks. Mark had a few of them on weekends in our parks in April and May, but we decided that this would be starting Monday, I believe. Maybe it's this weekend. Mark can correct me. We would be rolling that position out just to add value to what's in the parks.
So just 2 more questions. Is it a year-round position?
No, the Park Ambassador program is for the summer.
Okay, and is this like one of the town's way of managing sort of the, I guess, like the 2-prong things happening in our world right now, the, you know, increased use in parks, which is fantastic, but then also just like, you know, more communities are spreading into open space to use, to gather, to protest, to do that sort of thing? Is this like to address both of those?
It's this is Helen Rubino Turco again. So it's really just to make sure that people are using our parks in a safe way. So if there is going to be a rally, typically we know it's going to be in a park or near a park, leisure services will be alerted and we can plan accordingly. But this is not intended to prevent anyone from doing anything other than we want to make sure that our community stays as safe as possible regarding COVID. And so we also want to make sure that people are reminded to use hand sanitizers, to wash their hands, to, when they go home after they've played on a playground that they're sharing with other children. So it's mostly about that.
Okay.
So the last thing that I wanted to talk about in the area of what are we doing this summer is the pools. The town decided early on in the process to eliminate the funding for the outdoor pools this summer because they felt that it was sure to be a public health risk. And as time went on, and now we're seeing that other towns are opening their pools, we asked the town management if they would reconsider the pools. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of staff to hire to work the pools because we told them that we weren't opening. But we are trying to investigate a couple of options about perhaps opening 2 pools and perhaps outsourcing that to Cornerstone, to the management at Cornerstone. For the last couple of years, you might remember, Cornerstone Aquatic Center ran one of our pools for an extra week. And that went well. So they are set up to do that. And we're investigating that option. So I just wanted to ask all of you if, push came to shove and the town would need to find the money to fund this, but I'm suspecting that you would agree that we would like to open pools if we can. Does anybody have any comments on that?
This is Brian Clifford, board member. Yes, that's a great idea.
This is John Mins, board member. Totally great idea.
This is Kim Evans, board member. I have a question because if we're looking at doing on a limited, am I understanding what you're saying to mean that we would have fewer pools open for less time? Is that?
So thank you, Kim. This is Helen Rubino Turco to answer Kim Evans's question about the hours of the pool operations. It would take us a couple of weeks to get the pools up and running to begin with because we haven't done anything with them because we were told we weren't going to run them. And we agreed that it was a public health risk. We all agreed that was, that it was problematic. That being said, if we are able to open 2 pools, our recommendation is that it be Fern and Beachland. Those are our 2 newest pools, but they also are in 2 different areas of town. We want to make sure that people have access to our pools if we can. And it's possible that they would also run them more hours in a day because we don't have swim lessons going on and the pool is there. If we have staff, we could run them longer. So we could have more time for lap swim. We could have family swim times. It would probably all be done by appointment. So you'd go online, you would say, I'd like to come to the pool between 2 and 3 or whatever the time is. But it's possible that instead of closing down when we usually close down, that we would be able to keep the pools open longer deeper into the summer. But it depends on Cornerstone's availability to hire the staff. We feel pretty darn sure that we do not have the staff to run 1 pool, let alone 2 pools, let alone 4 pools. But we are investigating this opportunity with Cornerstone to consider running at least 2 of our pools this summer.
The appointment issue is kind of the bigger answer to my question, which is going to be how do you handle social distancing with the whole town needing to use fewer pools for less time? But yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
This is Helen Rubino again. the state has guidelines on how to operate outdoor pools. We would have to follow them to the letter of the law. They involve, you know, a 50% capacity, a certain percentage in the water, a certain percentage outside the pool. Families would have to we would have to mark areas where families could go to put their stuff down. We'd have to limit the use of the locker rooms and the benches in the locker rooms. So there's a lot of hoops still to run through. The major one is, should we charge or not? You know, our feeling is we should just have it be by appointment only, but no charge. And that would sort of level everything so that, you know, people wouldn't say, well, they got to stay in longer and we paid the same amount of money. It would just be, and we're still, again, this is in its infancy stage, but I just wanted you to know that we're not, you know, we're not going quietly into the night. We are doing our very best to see if we can create an arrangement and a memorandum of understanding with, you know, one of our vendors to see if we might be able to somehow get some pools open for our community to use this summer.
Helen, oh, sorry. Helen, this is Shauna. Can I ask a question or
Sure.
make a statement? I mean, I fully support opening pools, and I think I speak for many friends and family when I say we'll take what we can get this summer in terms of community assets that we can use. I do get somewhat concerned about the appointment only, just from an equity standpoint. You know, not all families do have access to the internet, so I would hate for a certain population of people to not have access to the pools because they weren't aware or don't have easy access to the internet.
This is Kate Eichel. That's my same concern, just echoing it. And I also am concerned about the families like Kennedy who live there, who many of them walk. We know some of them just getting access to outdoor exercise and amenity beyond the playground. So just in terms of factoring that into your consideration if this gets off the ground. So sorry, jump in, just amplify your concern, Shauna.
Sure. So this is Helen Rubino Turco again to address that concern, and it's a valid concern. The first concern is the one about equity for people who don't have internet, and what we can do is supply MiFis and iPads at those two locations, so that people can come and register right then if there's room. They can also call Cornerstone. This was our idea today, was that they could call and Cornerstone staff would answer the phone and be able to register them for a time slot. And it's kind of like when you do, you know, you order your coffee at Hartford Baking and you come and you say, I'm order number 116. It would be the same thing. You would just come and say, we're, you know, such and such, and we called ahead and got it. So we would have that opportunity where we could try and do that. The question about locations is not something that I can solve. We can't do it all. And so we do want to try to make sure that we can at least not just open one, but open at least two. And, you know, if we could open three, then yeah, by all means, we will. But I think that the biggest hurdle for us is finding qualified staff. This is a deadly operation. It has deadly potential. We know that pools are just have that. It's like getting behind a wheel. You know, it's not something that we take lightly, and we want to make sure that we have the adequate and correct staff to operate safely. And if we don't have it, we won't open. So again, we're still in the infancy stages of this discussions, but this is something that we're determined to investigate fully to make sure that if we can, we will. Are there any other questions about pools?
This is Kate again. Do you think Cornerstone will open the indoor pool this summer?
So that's the second to last on my list is facilities, opening of facilities. So right now, Cornerstone is still being discussed. The capacity at 50% in that building is pretty small in terms of lanes. There's also some significant construction that needs to take place there. And so by opening 2 outdoor pools and allowing lap swim, it may take the pressure off that facility so that we can move forward with some planned construction. That is still being decided, but right now, Cornerstone has not yet been cleared to open by the state or by the executive policy group. We do have plans to reopen the veterans skating rink at the end of June. I think the date might be June 24th or 23rd, but they have submitted a satisfactory plan to the recovery team, and they did share that with the executive policy group, and we have received approval to move forward with some limited use at Veterans Rink. It's going to be the coolest place in town this summer.
Hello, this is John Mins, Community Chair. Veterans, they I believe they did one of the summer camps, and correct me if I'm wrong, and the question generally is what was the reason why they wasn't included, if I was right, on one of the summer class veterans, if they're open, or is it just logistics too hard to handle all this? There's a lot to figure out, I understand.
Right, so for the rink, this is Helen Rubino Turco again, responding to a question about the rink and the camp there. So the rules for the camps would have to fall under the guideline of the OEC, the Office of Early Childhood, and that is groups of 10 and a maximum of 50. It was a maximum of 30 until about 2 weeks ago. So we had canceled that because they don't have separate meeting places. They don't have enough different separate meeting rooms to accommodate groups of 10. They have only 2 party rooms. And so that doesn't leave you with a lot of place to put people to follow the guidelines. By reopening it, we can, figure skaters can go and skate now, and as soon as it goes to 50, we might be able to do some open skates, some public skate sessions. Again, it would have to be at a reduced capacity, but it still gives people a place to go that's air conditioned and is recreation. Hockey is not yet approved. We hope that hockey would be approved in probably the middle of July. But again, the goalposts change all the time. But right now, hockey is not allowed. So we would be opening for a couple of weeks on a limited scale and just testing how the by appointment, people would have to make appointments ahead of time for time on the ice. But we're hoping that we would be able to open that up to, be a fun destination for people, especially after the number goes to 50, and we don't know if it'll go to 100, later. We just don't know. This is a changing landscape, and we pivot as best we can, and it's not perfect, but we're trying really hard to be able to preserve and deliver safely as many programs and activities as we can. Westmoor Park is, the buildings and the farm are closed to the public, but they'll be open for camp. The public can still go and walk the trails, and but in order for them to control and keep the children safe, because we have to follow protocols like daily temperature checks and health questions and hand washing and cleaning of the restrooms and all that kind of stuff, plus keeping that pod of 10 kids separate from the other pods of 10 kids. Elmwood Community Center will also remain closed for the public for that very same reason. They have one set of campers coming in through one door and another set of campers coming through another door and going to separate floors, and that's how they're going to control these numbers. So it's not just the safety of the children, but it's also the safety of the counselors. These are college kids, high school kids, mostly college kids that they'll have to wear masks all day for the entire summer, for as long as camp is. So we're really, there's some really strict protocols that we'll be following. The last, so I think I've covered all of our, the 2 senior centers are going to remain closed. Probably will reassess at the end of August. Seniors are our most vulnerable population, and we want to make sure that they, they can go to the library, they could go, when the library's open, they could go to a park, they can go to the grocery store, they can go to the hairdresser. But a senior center, by definition, brings them together and puts them in a room and has them do programs and activities, and that hasn't been approved by the state, and we don't anticipate that would be approved soon, but we will, as I said, we will reassess it at the end of the summer, if not before. And the final item that I have is just a note about the fall-winter program guide. This year, we're working on our programs for the fall and winter, but we're going to do it online. We're not going to mail it to every household at this time. We don't know what's going to be able to be delivered in the fall. We can plan, but we don't know if it'll go. And so by doing it on our online, we can put it up and then we can change it, and we can take things down and fix it so that the most current up-to-date information will in fact be the flippable magazine, but online. And that's, certainly our libraries will print out some for people to share in the library so that they can see the programs and everything like that, but we will not be printing it and mailing it. We will resume that for the spring and for the summer camp next year and for the spring programs. But it was really hard to print it, and literally the day it came into people's houses, COVID hit. And so it was really disappointing to have this beautiful new document that we worked so hard to do just be, useless. So that is my entire report, and I appreciate your input. I appreciate your sensitivities about how we're, the struggles, the challenges that we have to deliver our programming. It's Mark and his team have done a really wonderful job creating camps and implementing options for people as best we can. A lot of great communication with all the leagues about how to submit your plan to us so that we can allow you to proceed. We want people to use our parks. We want people to be able to go and recreate, but we just want to make sure that everyone's safe. That's been our guiding light. So thank you. Happy to take any questions.
This is Shauna Kitzman again. I just want to say thank you for pivoting so quickly. I know this has not been easy for anybody, and I love that there are some silver linings and new types of programming of parks and bike riding and other programs that lend themselves a little bit better to social distancing. So thank you for keeping things going the best you can.
Thank you.
This is John Mintz, committee chair. I second that thought, and I'm sure everyone in the call does as well. Thank you. I'm sure this is hard in this environment, juggling these things. I just want to remind everyone the next meeting is September 21st, 2020 at 5:30, and potentially room 217 or virtually. And that's more than likely, you think it'll be virtually? Helen? Nope.
No idea. I mean, we don't know if school's going to open. We don't know if fall sports are going to happen. We don't know if town hall's going to be open. So, I think that at least we have this format. You've tried it once, and I'm just waiting for Brian to take down one of those power tools and fix something while we're meeting. But yeah, I just I don't know what's gonna happen. So. John, I'm also looking at our call-in, and I don't see anyone from the public that called in, so I don't believe that we need to take any other questions from the public. But certainly, if anyone has any other questions from the group, Mark and I would be happy to answer you.
Well, this is Kate Eichel, and I just want to say thank you again. I've been a even more avid user of the parks during this time, and so grateful for them. And even when I've seen things, we've been going to walk it a lot. I've noticed a lot of improvements there in terms of the paths and things. So I'm excited for all the new steps you're taking to improve them. And just again, I think the family fun activity, the tent, sounds really intriguing. So my family will go check that out, and we'll let you know how it goes. So thanks again.
You're welcome.
This is John Mintz, committee chair. So I believe that closes this meeting. Do I have anyone else to concur?
Yeah, I'll give you a motion to close.
Motion to close. Do we have a second? That was, I'm sorry, Brian Clifford. Motion to close.
Okay, Eichel, second.
This is John Mintz, committee chair. This meeting has ended.